Welcome to the Neckbeard experience. I've compiled some stories that I'd like to share with you today. I included my artwork for the first story. I know it's going to seem weird, but wait until you get into the story and then you'll understand. And yes, I do some ideas a lot like Walt Disney. We've got the continued adventures of Chestbeard and his experience at fencing, and also many more. So sit back and relax, and I hope you enjoy. Here we go. Story number 1, Chestbeard. Sir Sam tries the sword. Hello, gentle sirs and miladies. This is the second installment of Sir Samwell. Player number 1, me, Lady Saber, still 16, foreign exchange student, undergoing extensive culture shock therapy, very avid fencer. I've been doing it about 10 years. Player number 2 and 3, these are my fencing coaches. They're immigrants from Hungary. Really fantastic people, husband and wife couple. Mr. Coach, he's a big guy with a thunderstorm of a voice. Mrs. Coach, she's petite, still yells louder than Mr. Coach. She's spooky quick, and always gives one-on-one instruction with people, even in group lessons. They're minor characters, but they rock. Player number 4 is Sir Samwell. Oh, I wish it wasn't. He's fat, sweaty mouth breather, and usually smells like death. His typical attire includes grungy, graphic tees, sandals, cargo shorts with pockets full of pasta and meat sauce. At least that's what it smells like. Either that or he bathes in it. Not sure, but it smells very pungent. Sir Sam's mother, Mrs. Sam. She's a minor character, but she shows up more often down the line, so I'll detail her. She's got curly hair, a feminine build, wears mom jeans, very warm and friendly. I guess this is a stereotypical suburban mom. This story occurs about a week after my last encounter with Sir Sam. To recap, the last time I gave him the contact information to the fencing class. I might as well gave Sauron the ring too. I want to give a bit of context first. When I'm practicing, I make zero attempt at my appearance. Makeup of any kind, mixed with sweat, it turns into an acne soup on my face. So I'll go without it. My hair is done up in a bun, and my boobs are squished into my sports bra. Seriously, you guys, this is very un-milady-like. Practice starts around 5 p.m. and it ends around 7:30 p.m. I'm there early to use the gym or go running before class, usually for 45 minutes. Today I run, making 2 circuits around the cross-country track, and make it back to the building maybe 10 minutes before class. There he is, Sir Sam, lumbering from the back seat of his minivan. And my heart lurches. He's actually wearing sneakers in lieu of the typical sandals, but without cargo shorts, a Call of Duty shirt, and fingerless gloves. I think that neckbeards always wear a minimum of neckbeard gear. Oh, and that fedora? Yes. He has a different one. It was some kind of awful reddish color. I had my suspicions that it started out as white. He might have used it as a ravioli receptacle. I'm not sure. As I make my approach back to the building, he gives me a full arm wave. He says something as I run by, but I keep going, through the double doors and to the gym area. I went to walk a lap as to cool down and to take a drink of water. I'm running a solid high of endorphins. I'm finishing my lap when Sir Sam makes a grand entrance. He tries to pull the door, then he pushes it open by thrusting his shoulder against it. He stumbles inside, panting from Lord knows what. Sir Sam is miffed.
What the hell is that for?
What do you mean?
You just ran freaking past me. You didn't even wave back. Why the heck would you invite me here if you don't even want to talk to me?
Sorry, Sam. I was just in my groove. He stays mad, and he fee-fi-fo-fums over to the water fountain. The tall one doesn't work, and the short one doesn't put out a stream, and you can only get a drink by sucking at the spout. He gives up on that one and turns to me, asking if I have any water. I still don't know what for. I contemplate letting him touch his face hole to my water bottle, likely backwash into it. I'm feeling a little intimidated by him though, so I offer him the one I drink from. It's almost empty anyway, and I think that a bottle of bleach is enough to clean it.
No way, you've already drank from that one.
I know, gross, right? Before this escalates, Mr. and Mrs. Coach come out of the office area to see who's making a fuss. Mrs. Coach introduces herself to Sir Sam and his mother, who has parked and came inside. A few other people are trickling in. We have a half a dozen regulars in advanced class, and about 10 or so who are beginners. Mrs. Coach takes Sir Sam to the back equipment room to get him a set of gear. Mrs. Sam turns to me.
Are you Lady Saber? Yeah. Do you know my name? Sir Sam told me all about you.
Fantastic.
Oh, okay. He says that you two have gotten to be really good friends at school.
I bet he did. I'm about to explain that we played one strained game of chess before Mr. Coates calls me over for warm-ups. We line up side by side for stretching. Guess who's on my right? Both classes are taught in the same room, so I resign myself to having him over near me for the rest of the evening. Stretches become a horror show. Everyone has a varying flexibility. The idea is really to untie all of your muscles and ligaments so that you can practice. For Sir Sam, it's a competition. He nearly gave himself an aneurysm reaching for his knees. Practicing lunges was even worse. I have a very long lunge. My hips drop nearly down to the floor, and my legs are fully extended. It's weird, and it has its drawbacks. But it's just my thing. Sir Sam tries this once, and he falls over. I'm pretty sure that it measured on the Richter scale. Oh, did I mention that he's still wearing the fedora? He's still wearing the fedora. Eventually, it gets too cringy even for Mr. Coach, who tells him to set it aside. This continues for a whole freaking hour. Sir Sam has pretty much given up on trying to talk to me. He's huffing and puffing, red-faced and soaking himself in sweat. I feel a little bit sorry for him, putting in all that effort not to get the lady. Footwork practice was also hard to watch. If you want to get a picture of what Sir Sam looked like, just imagine King Arthur from Monty Python doing his gallop. Got that? Okay, now imagine that King Arthur is a hippopotamus, about 3 French fries and a Diet Coke away from a heart attack. That's what it looked like. Relish that for a moment. After warm-ups, we're supposed to do drills. These are designed to improve our technique. Before though, we change into our fencing uniforms with all of the protective gear. Usually, we all change in the gym, being that no one is actually getting naked. I, however, am in no mood to have Sir Sam see me in any form of undress, so I gather up my wad of clothing and hit the lockers. When I get back, Sir Sam is still dressing himself. The snug-fitting knickers won't accommodate both of his hams and his oversized cargo shorts. I didn't want to watch, but I couldn't look away. Getting his jacket on was equally difficult. His arms
Just doesn't bend that way.
Mrs. Coach is standing right there with him, helping the good sir dress, just like a loyal squire. After all of this, he whines about having to wear the fencing gloves instead of his own fingerless wonder grips.
These are better designed for traction.
I wish I was joking. The legitimate fencing glove was unacceptable as well, being too tight and
Making my hands claustrophobic.
eventually he sucked it up. We pair off for drilling. Sounds twisted. I'm sorry. These tend to be specific to the weapon we're using. I'm making it worse, aren't I? So foil fencers work with foil fencers. Epi works with epi. You get the idea. The saber group is an odd number, so the 3 of us decide to rotate so that we each take a turn. Sir Sam is quite distant, being in the beginner's foil group. It's almost like I finally got my sport back to myself. Yeah, as if. The foil group is also an odd number, so Sam slinks away from them and approaches me. I'm saved by the call of switch for about 10 minutes, until I rotate out. Sir Sam is waiting for me.
Hello, Lady Saber. Has anyone ever told you that you look really good in...
He pauses here for a second, like he doesn't think this compliment through, before finishing.
that jacket?
At first, I took it as a genuine compliment, until he raises his weapon. My mask isn't down, so this totally freaks me out. I think I might have yelled, and he makes a jab at my chest. It didn't connect. I brought my blade up, caught the weapon on the outside, and rotated my blade in a circle. He lets go, and his foil goes skittering across the floor, and right into the wall.
Why'd you do that for?
Sam yells, squeaks. He goes quickly from scared to angry. Mr. Coach comes over asking what happened.
Lady Saber just knocked the sword out of my hand for no freaking reason.
Mr. Coach turns to me.
I'm sorry, he made an extension at me, and my mask was up. I just reacted.
Mr. Coach gives Sam a glare.
I didn't mean to. I was just playing.
I have the urge to offer cheese with that wine. Mr. Coach is pretty mad, tells Sam to pick up his weapon, and he solders away and avoids me, finally, for the rest of the practice. I got to finish the last 45 minutes in peace. I almost forgot he was there, until I peeled off my sweaty, drenched uniform. My face is flushed, my legs are sore, and I smell like a wet dog. Everything's going great. Cue Sir Sam. Comes over behind me while I'm wiggling out of my knickers.
Do you need some help with those, miss?
I turn around to see what the whitest knight doth require, and he looks like he's been out in a rainstorm. His shirt is drenched. His thick cargo shorts are soaked in sweat. His hair, under his fedora, looks like a used mop. He smells like a festering corpse with a stench. I held my breath while I pulled my knickers off, in the least sexual way possible. I leave on my high fencing socks. I was not bending down, or getting down to my knee in front of him to remove them. Spaghetti breath is still panting. I pack my stuff into my bag and I stand up to go, praying that my ride will be outside. Sir Sam stands in front of me and says,
I'll take that for you.
Indicating my wheeled carry bag.
It's okay. I got it, Sam.
Please, I insist.
He grabs the handle with his sausage fingers. I let him take the handle, just wanting to be out of there. We're both waiting for the other to go. I walk with him trailing behind me, and I make a quick glance in the mirror. Sure enough, this Corpsosaurus Rex is staring straight at my butt without a care in the world. Also, my top is halfway translucent from sweat. Awesome. My ride isn't outside yet. Even though I'm 16, I can't get my license and drive in America for liability reasons, so I have to wait for my host family to pick me up. Sir Sam's mother is here though, but he doesn't leave. I tell him thanks for carrying my stuff, and he offers to wait with me.
I want to make sure that you get home safe.
It is pitch dark out, but Mr. and Mrs. Coach aren't leaving until last. Mrs. Sam pulls up next to us and rolls her window down.
Time to go, Sir Sam. Hi, Lady Saber.
I'll be a minute, Mom. I just want to make sure Lady Saber gets home safe.
Mrs. Sam gives a chuckle, and she pulls into a parking place further down the lot. No, please, come back. I want to be safe, remember? Out of the blue, Sir Sam says,
Mom can be such a witch.
Whoa, what? Why do you say that?
Because she's always doing stupid crap like that. Getting up in my business.
Tearing down your mom. A+ way to converse with my lady. He leans back, and with ninja stealth, he slides his hand along the concrete behind me. I turn my head and glance, letting him know that I see.
These high socks are killing me right now.
Great. Now I'm satisfying my gentle sir's kinks. My ride was about 15 minutes late, but it felt like many hours. I finally see the headlights. I get up to grab my bag on the other side of Sam. Then I realize he has no intention of handing it to me. Instead, he expects me to bend over and pick it up. I either had to bend at my waist or squat to lift with my knees. He's just looking at me with an innocent smile.
Can you give me the handle to my bag?
I carried it all the way out here for you, Lady Saber. Don't be so lazy.
I am absolutely not going to put on a lap dance for this great white whale. His smirk is getting wider as my ride is pulling up through the roundabout. Finally, I have a witty comeback. I hook my foot under the handle and I give it a little kick upwards into my hand. I flash a smile and I strut my stuff to the car. What? Oh, you thought I was done? Cute. Wait till fencing part 2. It gets worse. Story number 2, Barking Beard. This is the story of my first ever real neckbeard encounter. I've encountered and been friends with a legbeard before though. I might share those in the future. Here's the characters. Me. I'm 17 years old, female, very short and slightly overweight, long dark brown hair. My sister. She's pretty much me but 4 years younger. Barking Beard. Tall, long and greasy hair, very slim and has bad breath. He wears some sort of anime character, I don't know which one. He's maybe around 20 years old, and he's got 2 of his friends with him. I'll call them sidekicks. Plague Spot, the ugliest car to ever exist, and a light blue Honda Jazz. At the time that this story takes place, I was 17 years old, and I had just got my driver's license. I didn't have the money to buy a car, so I always borrowed my mom's car, which is incredibly ugly. It's black and it has air bumps on the door. It slightly resembles the bumps that people who are suffering from the plague would get. The car had a lot of scratches, and it was horrible to drive. It quickly became an inside joke at school. Everybody knew it and they laughed about it. The car was so ugly. Only the driver could love it, if that. One day me and my sister parked outside a big supermarket. This was in a different town. As I mentioned earlier, I had just got my license and I stunk at parking. So I parked as far away from the other cars as possible, so I didn't accidentally damage them. We went shopping, then we decided to eat at a Chinese restaurant opposite the supermarket. That's where we saw him, the Beard. He was sitting at the table with two other guys, who wasn't nearly as cringy as he was. Since the restaurant was pretty small, we was forced to sit down at a table next to them. Parking Beard was talking about how much he hated the new skins in League of Legends, but his friends didn't seem to be listening to him, which stopped him from ranting, very loudly, about the crappy new skins. Suddenly he changed topic. You know, some jerk parked in my parking lot outside. This guy should better sleep with his eyes open, cause I wrote down his license. I don't think anything bad at first, but then he said, also, he should be easy to track down. Almost nobody in this district drives a poop-colored car like that. At first, I didn't want to say anything, but my sister suddenly started laughing out loud. She always does that when someone mocked our car, which caught the Beard's attention. He looked over at our table, and he caught me awkwardly sliding my keys into my pocket. Suddenly, his face completely changed. He didn't look angry anymore. He was awkwardly smirking instead. He stood up and sat down next to me. Sorry, my lady. I couldn't have known that a beautiful young lady was the person driving that ugly car. I could smell his bad breath and I wanted to vomit. I thanked him for the compliment and I accepted his apology, hoping that he would just leave. But nope, he started saying things like, a car like that doesn't do your beauty justice. You should go get a Ferrari or a Corvette. It's as pretty as you. His sidekicks and my sister were watching, trying to hold back laughter. And I have to say, I nearly laughed too. I've never been compared to a car before. He then offered me to pay for our food. I kindly rejected the offer, since I really didn't want a stranger to pay for my food. Oh boy, what a mistake. He immediately stood up, slammed his hands on the table and started yelling about how there was no good girls in the world anymore, and that I was treating him like crap. Man, I didn't even know him, and I've never seen him before, and he was acting like I broke up with him after a long-lasting relationship. I stopped listening to him, but his speech went on for a few minutes. After having a tantrum, he got asked to leave by someone working at the restaurant. His sidekicks laughed at him, making him more angry than ever as he walked out. He slammed the door behind him. About 10 minutes later, me and my sis paid and walked out, just to see the Beard again, sitting in an old, light blue Honda Jazz, revving up his 45 horsepower engine as if it was a race car, and weirdly smiling at me through his window as he was right in front of me. And he decided to crash into the Plague Spot's back door. He wasn't going fast, but it was enough for his front bumper to be slightly dented, and for his left headlight to get damaged. He was acting like he didn't give a crap and he drove off. I got scared, since it was my mom's car and some jerk just crashed into it. But apparently, the ugly air bumps on the side were at least good for something. The car didn't have a serious scratch. It just had some light blue paint from his bumper, which I could rub off using my hand. Luckily, my mom just laughed about the story, and I never got to hear from the Parking Beard again. Story number 3, Hackerbeard. Hello everybody. For those of you who've never interacted with me, here's a little background. I'm neckbait. I love geeky stuff. I have a low self-esteem, and when someone tries to go, I'm all very smart on me, I just think we're having a good conversation. This story begins at a hackathon. Right now, I'm studying at a computer science at a woman's college. It's my first year, and I absolutely love it. Here's a secret for those who don't know. Computer science, by reputation, is a pretty neckbeardy subject, but it's actually really creative and collaborative. Almost everything you do is built off something someone else did, as you have to be able to work with other people. Hackathons are basically computer science competitions, where you go in, form a team, and think of a product, work on it for 36 hours, and have a science fair at the end to present to various companies and judges for prizes. They're insanely fun, and almost everyone there understands a collaborative process. Everyone except for a guy named Kirk, which is the guy that I call Hackerbeard. You met one of these guys at every hackathon. Usually, you can spot them from a distance. They're always white, under 6 foot tall, and has about a week's worth of gross scruff on their faces and necks. Sneakers, usually New Balance, khakis, never jeans. They smell of Ayn Rand and ironic detachment, and any question that you ask them will inevitably turn to money, sex, or Polynic protagonist monologues, and they've always got some kind of item to mark them out. Sometimes it's actually a fedora, but other times it's something less overtly beardy, a leather jacket, a novelty belt buckle that still gives off the essence of fedora, a fed-aura, if you will. I met Kirk around 2 a.m. the first night of the hackathon, when I'd gone up to grab a cup of coffee. I couldn't work on my part of the project until my partners figured out a bug, and they were sleeping. Instead, I was working on a final for one of my classes. Kirk came up to the coffee stand at the same time I did, and we started chatting. He seemed nice enough. I explained what I was working on, and he explained what he was working on. And since he had a couple more years experience than me, I was delighted when he offered to beta test my code. I showed him where I was sitting, and he sat down with what was about 2 hours worth of work on a text-based RPG. He ran through the game once, sat back and said,
Well, it's obviously your first year.
I shrugged and laughed. I didn't see any problem being called a beginner. I think it's the only way you learn, but the way he said it was derisive, almost mocking. Yeah, I know. I'm still working on it. When I reached for my laptop to take it back, he pulled it away and started typing. I asked him what he was doing.
Fixing it, duh.
He replied,
Can I have my code back?
You can have it back when I'm done.
I laughed, thinking he was kidding.
Very funny. Give it back.
Kirk rolled his eyes.
You'll screw it up if I do.
At this point, I felt like punching him. I didn't, tragically, but I did grab my laptop off of his lap. He stared at me for a second, and there was absolute rage on his face. Then it was gone like I imagined it. We sat in silence while I deleted everything he changed, and eventually, he left. Just when I thought I was safe, he came back, dropping his bag down next to mine and sitting down to work. The next 90 minutes were, to say the least, hellish. For the first hour, Kirk alternated between peering over my shoulder to insult my code and complaining about his life. First, it was the harrowing tale about how he dropped out of a decent college because nobody in higher education can think for themselves, followed by his irritation with the effing sheep at community college. That moved into how shallow everyone in his hometown was, and how he surpassed them all in terms of depth. To be honest, I like to be able to provide quotes, but I was trying to tune him out. When that didn't work, he just resorted to staring at me. Eventually, he tapped my arm and told me,
You've got really pretty eyes.
Thanks.
I replied.
Yeah, they're really blue. They make mine look like garbage.
He widened his eyes and blinked at me several times.
What do you think?
Nah.
I turned back to my laptop, but he reached out and grabbed my forearm.
No, look at my eyes. What color do you think they are?
His fingers dug into my arm, and I wanted to scream.
Green, I guess?
He nodded, almost like he was satisfied with my answer.
Yeah, I guess they are.
When he turned back to his laptop, I shifted away from him, a little shaken. Before anyone yells at me in the comments, I absolutely wanted to tell him to back off. Little known fact, fight or flight actually only covers half of the regular responses to danger. The other two are friend or freeze, aka try to neutralize the danger or panic and freeze up. Women tend to lean towards friend or freeze rather than fight or flight. And I particularly tend to freeze. If someone freaks me out, I get scared that if I try to get out of the situation, it'll escalate, so I don't do anything. Kirk's second tactic was to talk about his roommates. Thinking it was a much more neutral topic, I smiled vaguely, and I nodded whenever he looked for a response. It started out harmless enough, just a story about some issues with the landlord, and I thought we'd move past the creepy part. After a few minutes though, his topic shifted. He started complaining again about a dispute with one of them over who should pay more rent, the guy making more money or the guy with a bigger room.
It's just this whole argument. We're not gonna settle it anytime soon. He thinks he's right. Even if he was, I won't back down. What do you think?
I didn't answer. He tried again.
Luna?
I shrugged.
It seems like something you should compromise over.
Kirk shook his head.
I don't think you get it.
He stayed completely silent until I looked over at him. When I did, his eyes fixed on me in a way that made my skin crawl.
I tend to get what I want, and it comes at a price.
Okay, I know that sounds like a line from a bad action movie, but I swear that's what he said. I couldn't sit there anymore.
I'm gonna go get some sleep.
Hopping up so fast, I almost tripped over my own feet.
Maybe I'll, see you later.
He stared at me a while longer while I gathered my stuff. Eventually, he half smiled.
Yeah, I'll come and find you tomorrow.
I didn't answer. I was already planning the next day to avoid him, and I hurried away. Little did I know, it would only get weirder. Story number 4. Warbeard. Hello everybody. I'd like to take this opportunity to share with you a story of the past few years of my life, which have been very instrumental in my development as a person and as a man. This will also be a story of my friend and the subject of this tale, Aries. Aries is a genuine friend of mine, and I bear him no ill will with this story. But as an individual with a front row seat of this neckbeard cringe, I have to share my story. So for whatever reason you're here, be it harmless entertainment, a search of inspiration, etc., I sincerely hope you find something of meaning here. Let's go on a journey. Here's the cast. I'm your host and narrator, Apollo. This introductory story took place about a few years when I was a senior in college, and I was about 20 years old. Aries, our neckbeard. He was 21 at the time, a part-time student, and a part-time retail worker, also a college junior. He lacks some traits of a stereotypical neckbeard, but he has enough of them to be considered one. He's overweight, poor hygiene, into anime and games, and hits on girls in a very creepy way. Aphrodite, a gorgeous friend of ours. She was 18 at the time, and a very loving personality. Athena, yet another gorgeous friend of ours. She's also 18 at the time, a bit more studious and less bubbly than Aphrodite, but equally caring about loved ones. Here we go. I was a student at this university when I was 18, but I quickly ran out of money and I returned home. Sophomore year found me at a local community college where I could take classes cheap and also work full time. After a year of this, I returned to the before mentioned university to complete my studies. Being an introvert, I was terrible at making friends. So I arrived back after a year's absence to find that most of my friends have transferred or graduated. I went into the cafeteria for breakfast one day, and lo and behold, it's an old friend of mine from 2 years ago, sitting at a large table with a group of people. I wasn't great friends with him, but still friends enough to sit with him, as opposed to being alone, so I gathered up some grub and sat at the table. I only knew him though. He greeted me warmly. Then he made some introductions, one of whom was Aphrodite. I knew she and I would be good friends, and over the next month or so, she became one of my close friends. Through her I met Athena, a girl from her class that I also grew close to. One day I was chilling in my dorm room when I got a text suggesting that I head over to the campus food court and meet them for dinner. I go there and find them at a table with a new fella. I've never seen him before. I will call him Aries. Where or how they met Aries, I'll never know. Perhaps he literally just plopped down at their table, and they were too kind to send him away. Perhaps they knew him through somebody, or they invited him to join them at their table. Whatever the case, I joined them and make his acquaintance. I actually had much in common with Aries. We both enjoyed similar movies and video games. As I came from a nerd background, we all did to an extent. While discussing video games, I began to pick up on his hubris a little bit. He claims to be one of the greatest Total War masters around, hence why I call him Aries. He said that he was a god of war, due to his skill in games such as Total War and the like. I also prefer talking about games in a general sense, as in what civilizations do you like and why, what type of games do you like and why, how can certain games be improved from a player's perspective, and etc. He prefers to boast about his skills at this game or that, and to take every opportunity to invite you over to his house to challenge him. Fortunately, I don't have the time, and I tire of the conversation, and the group starts to steer the conversation into a different direction. After a while, Aphrodite excitedly and jokingly suggests that we play the game Would You Rather. So we're sitting there, asking each other odd questions, like, would you rather eat or lick that? And it's all in good fun. But then Aries steps up to the plate. I forgot what he said, but he asked one of the girls if she would rather do something weird or pervy in nature, and our smiles turned into a stoic, what? kind of face. Meanwhile, Aries had the biggest, most ridiculous looking grin on his face, ear to ear. He has a really fat face, so when he smiles big, it appears as though his eyes are shut. So picture that face. We sat there in awkward silence for a bit, until moving on to a new discussion. After about 2 hours of chilling out, we break off. I head back to the dorm to play on the PS3, and Aries announced that he'll return to his house for Xbox, and invites us all to come. No one took him up on it. Athena said that she'd go home. She lives about 40 minutes away from campus. And Aphrodite said that she'd head to the library for a bit. Upon leaving the food court, I bid my somewhat new friends adieu, and I peel off and head back to the dorm. About 100 yards away now, I look back over my shoulder and I see Aphrodite and Athena heading in the direction of the library, which also happens to be near where the lot where Athena is parked. Aries, on the other hand, is parked a lot closer to my dorm, so you'd think you'd be walking in my direction, or at least in that general direction, but nope. He's right in behind Athena and Aphrodite, practically in their back pockets, walking with them to their destinations. I guess he was so thirsty that he was taking every moment he could to get with them, and I'm sure that he enjoyed the fact that that little stroll across campus was just him and the girls, with me away. I discovered much later that he viewed me as competition, though that's another story for later. Thank you very much for joining me. If you enjoyed those stories, please hit that like button. And if you want to enjoy more stories like this in the future, please hit that subscribe button. If you have any Neckbeard stories of your own, you can send it to my email at funwithfailure@gmail.com. A special thanks to all the wonderful authors at Reddit. You can find their stories and many more in the links below. So until next time, a bearded bay keeps the cringe away.